We're going. So, all right, welcome everybody. This is Hawk's Eye View. It's part of our series where we feature faculty. My name is Dominic. I'm the Associate Director for Admissions. I've got one of my colleagues, Paige Owsley. She recruits the local territory. And then one of our esteemed faculty members, Professor Gary Meacher, is with us, representing the art department. So I'm going to throw it to him and have him give a little background. And then we've got some certain questions that we know students frequently ask, and maybe we can glean some insight onto the program and the major. So Professor Meacher, I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You want to know about me and my background?
We want to know about everything.
Sure, yeah. So I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. I moved to this area 6 or 7 years ago, maybe, with my wife, or with my fiance at the time, now my wife. And we have a dog and a son, long walks on the beach and all that. So when I went to Cleveland State University for my bachelor's degree in graphic design and a minor in marketing. Then I went, after graduating, I worked at Apple for 2 years, teaching people how to use computers. My title was creative, which is not a pretentious title at all. I later had the genius title, which is the famous title at Apple, which means that I know how to fix phones and laptops. But while I was working at Apple, I kind of got the bug for like realizing that maybe I do want to be a teacher. And for a while, I never thought I had the patience to be a teacher, but that sort of changed when you have this experience of teaching. I had an experience of teaching an older man, maybe in his 80s, what a mouse was. And like, he's like looking at it and he's like, what is that? And how does it work? And so I learned that I had patience that day and that I could be a teacher. So I went to Kent State University and got my master's degree in visual communication design, and a graduate certificate in user experience design, which is just a fancy way of saying I know how to test things that we design, like user testing. So yeah, that's that. So I've been teaching for, I don't even know, maybe 11 or 12 years at this point. As far as our program goes, there's two other guys in our program, Bob Meacher and Carl Warma. Bob is a big deal in the watercolor painting arena. Carl's been around for a while. He ran his own business. He does a little bit of everything: design, photography, traditional art. So yeah, we really have kind of a rock star crew as that goes.
That's awesome. How do you guys break up the classes? Like, what do you teach compared to what Professor Meacher and Professor Warma teaches?
Yeah, so Bob's amazing at paint. So he does all the painting, traditional painting courses. Me being a newer faculty, this is my second-ish year at QU. Everything's kind of weird with like the pandemic and time, and is it still March last year or March this year? It's all very confusing. But so I'm trying to think of how everything's structured. But before I came, Bob and Carl also split a lot of the graphic design courses. So I teach all the graphic design courses, or most of them, most of the primary ones. And Bob and Carl still teach some of those as well. Carl teaches, I believe, most of the traditional drawing and photography courses. But yeah, we're all kind of in the mix as far as design goes, but I'm kind of primary design. And then Carl is primary drawing, photography, and then Bob is painting and drawing still. So, yeah.
I know a big question that I hear a lot from students is, can I major in photography at your school?
So we don't officially have a major in photography. We do have what I would say is a concentration. So we do offer, I want to say, maybe 3 photography courses. And so if you were to major in studio art, which is really kind of like the overarching umbrella of arts, then you could have a couple of concentrations. So you can concentrate on painting, you can concentrate on photography, you can concentrate on 2D like drawing. I think we also have like a 3D concentration, like sculpture and ceramic and stuff like that. So we have a few different avenues, and within the studio art umbrella, you would choose a couple of specialties basically. And so to a student like that, I would say focus on photography within studio art.
Yeah, that's a really good answer.
Thanks.
We field a lot of these questions too. We have students that really don't have any background in graphic design. They have a passion for it, but they just didn't have the access to it from their high school programs. Are they able to jump in, and how difficult it is? Do you have students that really do start from the very beginning at the collegiate level?
Yeah, so a few things about that. I've noticed some students that actually come in relatively comfortable with Photoshop, which is a pretty common tool that we use. And that could be, they took part in the yearbook club in high school, or they did the newspaper, or they just like to mess around with Photoshop in their free time. So I'm seeing some students come in with experience in that stuff. But if you're just into drawing, or you're excited about comic books or anime or any of that kind of stuff, and you just want to kind of pivot that interest into a career, you can start fresh with design on day one in college. One thing that's really strong about our program is that from day one, you can get right into a design course. Freshman year, first semester, you can take a class that is called Digital Studio, and that's going to teach you how to use all the tools and software that you need to know to be a designer. Whereas some other schools make you wait, they kind of gatekeep a little bit, and they make you wait until your sophomore year or even into your junior year before you really get into the meat of your major. And I feel really strongly that you should be able to start on day one and get a feel for, is this for me?
Man, I want to go back and take Digital Studio. I'm gonna have to sign up that on my lunch breaks.
Yeah, hop in.
Yeah, so I heard you mention Photoshop. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious about what other software that art students use at QU.
Yeah, so we at QU, we have a, I don't know if it's a contract or a license with Adobe. So we actually have access to everything that Adobe makes. And we're on a kind of a renewal. So if Adobe comes out with something brand new tomorrow, we automatically have access to it. So we're always on the cutting edge of that, which is great. In between semesters and over summer, the IT department kind of polishes everything up and refreshes everything. So we're always starting a new semester with whatever is most current. So we have access to everything Adobe makes. At the moment, we have some pretty beefy workstation computers in our art computer lab that our students focus on. And then I've see a lot of students nowadays come into class with their own MacBooks or whatnot too. So.
I think one of the things that QU really excels at is the student to professor relationship. You guys do all your own advising, right, with the students?
Yeah, we do, which is to me another nice thing that's a little different about QU compared to maybe a slightly larger to significantly larger university. So for example, like when I went to Cleveland State and Kent State, they have designated counselors that their whole job is just to advise students. That's all they do. But because that's their job, they don't inherently understand the field, right? And so I'm in the field, I'm teaching the classes, and so I can advise those students at the same time. So to me, that's a better relationship. And I see those students every week, and we can build our own relationships. And to me, it's just a deeper, more meaningful one-on-one kind of interaction.
So what majors are offered within the art department?
So my understanding is for the longest time, we just had a studio art emphasis in graphic design, and that was for maybe 10 years or more. But in the past year, I've kind of restructured some things. And so we have 2 degrees now. We have a studio art overarching that umbrella art degree. And now we have a studio art graphic design degree. So we have 2 majors. They're sort of related. Some schools have graphic design programs in the communications area. Some schools have design programs in the art area. We have a nice foundation with art, and our art program is actually in a larger group with the communications department. So we kind of hit both sides, which is nice. So we have 2 degrees, and then we also have a few minors within that too. So if you're not necessarily into fully committing to a major in art. You could minor in design, you could minor in art, you can minor in web development. There's a few different things like that you can kind of get a taste for it.
Mhm.
That's
What
awesome.
do what do you think is a popular major that goes really well with like graphic design as a minor?
I have a lot of students that major in communications, PR, marketing, advertising, business. Those
Mhm.
are the big ones, I would say. In fact, on the other way of that, when I have people that major in design, if I can recognize that they're going to be a strong student, they're most likely going to minor in marketing or minor in business. So they're always going to have that. I like to think of design as the business side of art. So they're always going to have that ability to kind of set themselves apart in the creative world, get that job, alleviate the stress of their mom and dad are like, I don't want a starving artist child. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. I often suggest communications to students who might not, have a clear idea of what they want to major in. I think communications is something that you can do a lot with. But I think it would really set them apart to have that graphic design as a minor, and then even paired with our business certificate that we offer to students now.
Yeah.
They can graduate with all three of those. So I was just curious if you saw a lot of business people.
Yeah, definitely.
What are obviously you're in the field. What are some of the career trends with, the major that we're offering? Where's it kind of putting people in the marketplace?
Yeah. So the cool thing to me about design is that every single company needs a designer. And now whether they have a designer, what we call in-house design, which is like you work for, think of any company whatsoever, maybe they just have a designer or two that does all the stuff for that company. The other side is a designer who works for like an agency or an advertising firm or a design firm, and they work for a company that all they do is design work for many companies, right? So there's kind of two tracks as far as general business stuff goes. The other thing is that every student leaves with the ability to freelance and start their own business. And so, like I said before, to me, design is the business of art. And so if you just see yourself as a creative person, you can apply those creative skills to a business acumen that allows you to make money in a more consistent space, as opposed to being concerned about that starving artist idea and that you're just kind of sitting in your room painting and hoping that someone buys it. The business side of art to me is a lot more strong and a lot less worrisome than people think it is.
Mhm.
That's pretty neat because it allows students to really follow their passion. Um, but maybe also find a career path, or maybe if they're also kind of thinking about two different majors as an option, not necessarily having to give up on art because they are called towards marketing or whatever field
Right.
that may be, and
Right.
are able to to still feel those creative juices still.
Right. And we live in such a visual culture that even if you graduate with a minor in design or a major in design or art, that visual understanding it's gonna apply to a lot of things like social media and marketing. Every job has some element of social media and marketing to it, and you're gonna have that step up to be able to visually communicate with customers and clients and things like that. So there's a lot of flexibility with that skill set.
Yeah, and I know something that plays a pretty big part in, job security after graduation are internships. And
Yeah.
so, do you have a lot of students that do internships, and is it a requirement for your degree?
Yeah, so every student interns. That's part of the degree requirement. And within that, me as an advisor, I try to help my students find that internship, land it somewhere. We also have a really strong student services, I think is what it's called, area, and they're fielding calls and emails all day of people saying, hey, I need students to do this, this, and this, help us out. We're looking for XYZ, we have this open job. And so they hear that stuff all day and they're ready to put students in the right spot. For me, when I moved to this area, I ended up taking my personal work and my portfolio to all the local design firms, showing them my work and saying, you're going to start seeing this level of work coming out of students in this area because I'm teaching all of them. And so, and then I kind of established relationships with the local design firms and saying like, we're going to start sending students your way, new employees your way, right? So that was really cool. So I've established a lot of borderline kind of friendship, casual relationships with people in the area that I can email and say, hey, I've got a student who's really good at this. You're going to want to hire them this summer or whatnot. And it's been great.
That is the perfect example of a perk of a small school right there.
For sure.
Is you getting to make all these connections with students and then in turn, connecting them with people within the community. And I, when I'm talking with students during campus visits and things, that's one thing I like to tell them and make sure that they know is that's a super cool part of making sure that 91% of our students are getting a job after graduation is because of professors like you who want to advocate for their students and really make sure that they get that job when they graduate.
Yeah, and I think it goes even a step deeper. If for any of you that are into sports and stuff, there's like coaching trees when people say like Coach Belichick or for the Patriots, he had this many assistant coaches and they've gone on to hire and go to other teams to be other head coaches, other places. And so they have this family tree of coaches that have been from this esteemed guy. And so not at all to say that I'm Bill Belichick of design or something, but though I like his fashion choice here and there. But I've had students, even just in the past 3 weeks, I've had students email me that have graduated from classes that I've taught in the past 4, 5, 6 years and say, the company that I'm working at now is hiring. Do you have anyone? Let's talk. And I just got a student who just graduated in December, a job at a local place working under one of my previous students, right? So it's really cool.
I just got goosebumps. That is really cool.
That's so awesome. I mean, it's like everything that we believe in about QU in action, and that's just so neat.
Yeah, and I also think that that's one of the unspoken things about college. People think you go to school, you learn how to do what you want to do, and then you go off and get a job. But beyond that, it's also networking and who you know in some places. And you and I, as this fictitious student, we're going to build a relationship over 4 years. You're going to leave, and I'm going to know who you are and know your work ethic and know your skill set, and I could recommend you in a place that you can thrive in.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I heard you were talking about specific classes that you were teaching. Do you have one that like sticks out to you as your favorite?
Yeah, my favorite one is a class called Design for Change. It's a class that I've kind of edited recently. Previously, it was focusing on advertising and PR with local companies. And I sort of took that nugget and flipped it a little bit to work with just nonprofit organizations. And so every student, let's say we have 5 or 6 students in the class, every student gets assigned a different nonprofit. And I shouldn't say assigned, they seek out nonprofits that they are interested in. And then they say, hey, I'm a design student. I'd like to work with you and help you do this, this, and this, and make your stuff look better. And so we've had local, last time I taught it, I had students working with Salvation Army, a local organization called Bella Ease that does a lot of nonprofit stuff. There's a local chapter of My Brother, My Sister's Keeper that does a lot of underprivileged work in the community. And so every student gets assigned or partnered with a nonprofit, and we spend the entire semester doing work for that nonprofit. And they get service hours, which is like an accidental perk of the whole course. It's really just, we're doing real work with real clients. And it's an altruistic thing, right? Like they feel good that they're making a real difference. And that's why I called it Design for Change.
That is super, super cool.
Yeah,
and I love that they get to pick too, right? So they get to like pick an organization that they're probably passionate about, which, fuels them to really help them and
right, exactly.
Change.
Yeah, the student who worked with Salvation Army last time, she said like she just felt really grateful to them, and she grew up on the poor side, and she was really grateful for Salvation Army and helping her family growing up. And now she's in college and she can actually like use her skill set as a creative to help a company that helped her, you know, and like it's just all that, this like awesome connection.
You have me all in my feelings now. It's so sweet. Oh, that's really, really cool. I would call that a definite unique course too that your art program has. That's really, really awesome. And I've never heard of that before, but that's super cool.
That is really truly amazing. And you know, the neat thing is that teaches so many skills outside of just the intention of the design feature of that course. It's, you know, teaching people totally things they probably didn't expect when they signed up for a, you know, a design course.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's easy for us to think that you know, students are going to come and they're going to graduate and they'll be experts in using Photoshop, and like that's just a tool, right? So my goal is to teach them to be independent, creative problem solvers, right? And so let's say that you graduate tomorrow and Adobe goes bankrupt and there's no more Photoshop. You still need to have an actionable, like useful degree, right? And so you don't get a degree in using Photoshop, you get a degree in being a creative problem solver, and you can apply that to many different things, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I like that. So I have heard that there is a full tuition art scholarship coming up.
Yeah.
And I would like all the details on that.
So I know that, so what we're doing is sort of soliciting students who are interested to share their portfolios with us. And you had a question earlier, Dominic, about, you know, what if I don't have anything? I've never done design work. It's totally fine, even if you've done art or really anything. And I keep forgetting that I'm representing the art department as well, not just design. I'm a little selfish about that. So any art, any design, photography, anything that you've done that's creative, compile all your work, send it to us as a department. We'll meet and look through everything. We'll establish kind of an interview session where we can chat with you and learn about your interests. And based on the interaction and based on what we're seeing in the portfolio, we have the power to recommend scholarships, which I'm very happy to give people money as much as I can throw at everyone.
And so the competition,
I'm trying to remember the date. Do you remember the date of it?
Yeah, it's on the 27th.
27th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think if we do have anybody that's listening to this or, you know, clicking on YouTube and picking this up, utilize us as admissions counselors, you know, call myself, call Paige, call our counselors, because, you know, we can get in touch with the faculty and then, you know, help, you know, kind of carve that path out to, you know, where do I want to send my portfolio? You know, how do I speak to the professors, et cetera. So we're a great resource to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. Never be afraid to reach out, and we can always point you in the right direction too. So if you're an art student and you would like Gary's contact information or somebody else from the art department, we're more than happy to put you in contact with them. Or if you wanted to set up a campus visit and actually meet with them in person, we can make that happen during your time here at the university.
Yeah, Professor Meacher, can you think of anything, any final thoughts?
You know, for those that are interested, if you want to go, you can go to my website. It's just garymeacher.com, and you can see my name on the screen if you need to learn how to spell it right there. So garymeacher.com, you can see my work, but I also have a student work area that I upload all the best work that I'm excited about. And it's actually sort of turned into a bit of a competition with my students where like they turn in a project and they're like, can I get on the website kind of thing? So you can see the types of projects that we do and the quality of work that we're doing, and you can check it out there.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for the time. This has been super valuable. You know what? I know Paige feels this the same way. I love it when I learn something about this and I'm like, oh, that's so new. Like I didn't even know that yet. And so I know the students that are tuning in, or any of the students that we send this to will really appreciate it too. But thank you so much for the work you're doing on campus. Paige, you got any last bit?
I'm just going to say every time I talk with an art student now, I'm talking about that class where you go out and you work with the non-for-profits. So that was just amazing and like a really good story that like hits home. So I liked that.
Awesome.
Again, Professor Meacher, thank you so much for the time. And yeah, we'll see everybody soon.
Bye.